Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. I am now joined by Elmer Yuen as we play out what is going to happen should Russia decide to state that it was going to unleash its nuclear weapon. Remember, they have made so far three threats. The first one was that they were going to drop some satellites which were going to land on either India or China. Then the second thing was this nuclear threat. And the third thing, but I think was more recent, they said that they want 40% of NATO countries back in the fold or something of that nature. You have to look at the NATO's secretary to see the video to understand what they said there. But let's focus on Russia and its nuclear statement. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for inviting me. Sorry, I was in the with another broadcast, a little bit
I
overtime.
know. I
Thank you.
know.
Sorry
No
about
worries.
that.
So I'm going to give you a clean 15-minute shot. Go ahead and tell us what you think is going to happen should this nuclear option be used.
I think I'd like to go back a little bit about the
Sure, sure, sure,
background.
sure, sure, sure.
I think Putin thought he can take over Ukraine in 72 hours, and but unfortunately, the tactic and the weapon he used to take over Ukraine is similar to the one he used in Afghanistan. You remember how the Soviets were beaten out of Afghanistan. So America was helping. You remember America sent out three groups of military to the neighbor, Ukraine neighbor, 3,000, 3,000, 5,000, maybe not that in that exact order. Those people were helping the Ukraine resistance to fight. So they had all the area view. They can see every soldier in Ukraine area, every Russian soldier. They know all the troop movement for sure, and then they supply this information to the Ukraine military army, and they were given, as you remember, before the invasion, American had plane loads of weapons sent to Ukraine, and most of them are the Sting and the Javelin rockets, missiles. In fact, it's not too legal, but somehow they did it anyway, because to sell weapon to a third country needs approval from the Congress, and they did it anyway. Similar to Afghanistan, it was never officially approved when they supported the Taliban and the Al Qaeda against the Soviet. So anyway, U.S. have been staying very low profile. They've been helping the Ukrainians to fight the Soviet soldiers. As a result, it's been now it's the fifth day now. Well, it's already 5 days. So the Soviet have actually never reached their target. Did not really occupy any major city. So and also a lot of casualties. So nobody is reporting, but we have a group estimating 3 to 6,000 people. Soviet military died, and over 100 tanks, and a few hundred armor trucks and vehicles, and also lots of airplanes, helicopters, and also transport airplanes. They're using the American weapon with American information helping them. So suddenly, Putin is is lost because this is not really nobody expected. None of us. Everybody thought it's 48 hours or maximum 72 hours, and this guy Zelensky is unbelievable. I mean, he's Jewish and really fulfilled the Jewish story. It's like David against Goliath. You know, nowhere. Somehow he succeeded. Not only he succeeded in united the Ukrainians in Ukraine, or the military, the politician, and the people. So they all weaponized. Not only that, as a result of this delay, from the entire Europe has unified. Unified. Never. Europe always fighting and arguing World War I, World War II. They've been fighting. Suddenly they have one voice, all supporting Ukraine. And they did not use the NATO because NATO somehow is ruled by American. It's actually controlled by American. They've decided to use the European Union, that body, to help the Ukraine, because that one you don't need approval from US. US has been very, it's always, US has always been the biggest voice. So, but this time, European Union decided. So, what this delay really put Putin into a very difficult position. So he's decided to declare that he's going to use nuclear. Okay, nuclear deterrence alert. That's the exact. So, but actually, this is very serious, meaning threatening nuclear. But before that, what really happened is the Europe basically frozen, or not Europe, the whole world frozen their reserve, 600 billion, six
Yes.
hundred billion US dollars of of their reserve in different currencies, all frozen, and all the Russian individuals, all their money, their foreign currency, also get frozen. So it's like suddenly I take off your bank account and wallet. You have to fight, and that nuclear declaration is actually in fact is a result. Putin felt this is a world war. I mean, basically the world declared war on Russia, so that's why it's nothing wrong with him declaring nuclear. So this is my understanding of background. Everybody understands different, but I like to tell you. And now, where does that put Xi Jinping? Xi Jinping has publicly, in the last more than 10 years, all right, been supporting Putin and supporting. And just before the Olympic, Putin came and they had a meeting and signed more than 15 agreements. So to financially, for China, financially also to support Putin. Now in China, you don't read much maybe Chinese newspaper. They've been very, very supportive of Russia's invasion of Ukraine until a couple of days ago. Suddenly, the attitude changed. Russia only represents 2 point some percent of China trade. Chinese trade altogether, Russia only represents 2 to 3%, very small. So, from a business point of view, it's really not very prudent to align with Russia completely. So Xi Jinping, he wants to do the same to U.S. as Putin. So in the way they have politically and mentally, spiritually, they are online. But yet China as a country, economically, they can't afford to do it because it would bankrupt if China involved in secondary sanction and not allowed to use the SWIFT. It's over. China's economy is really over because they are so much dependent on global export and everything. They're not doing well. America has basically cut off all the investments and all the loans, but China was still able to earn a lot of foreign currency from their exports. And I'm sure India has followed that very closely because Donald Trump wanted you to take over their business. So, but the reality is now China, inside China, there's a huge split whether to support Russia, support Putin or not. From the ideological point of view, they somehow should support Putin because communists and totalitarian supporting authoritarian. That's what's going on. But on the other hand, for business, it will be terrible. So the deep state in China are against Putin. And in the Chinese history, Russian has taken over so much land, over 2 million square kilometer of land from China. Not too long ago, we're talking about the recent, let's say, 200 years. In the last 200 years, this is how much land the Russian has grabbed from China, both in the northeast of China, that whole piece, and also in the northwest of China. There's a Tuva Republic and all that. All that used to be China's. And of course, Russian imposed on China to make Mongolia independent, which from a Chinese point of view is also one piece of land being lost. So as far as China is concerned, this is huge, maybe even more. Sorry, 2 million is not, if you include Mongolia, you're talking about 3 to 4 million square kilometers. And this, of course, is huge. And so all the Chinese educated elite and even the communist elite, they understood that Russia has been no friends. Every time China is only being taken advantage by the Russian. So they're inside them, they're very anti-Russian, Russian or Soviet. But Xi Jinping somehow he wants to learn from. He's learning this authoritarian tyranny. It's a reign of terror, and he learned it from Stalin. He learned it from Mao, and he think Putin is doing the same. But Putin is not really exactly the same. There's some lot of freedom still in Russia today. You go to Russia, the internet is completely open. People, 80% of people vote, and they're still, I would say, very quite democratic, still quite democratic. So in a way, China is caught in this middle of what to do, and I believe this is not good. The timing is terrible because Xi Jinping wants to be re-elected at the end of this year. And what's happening in Ukraine and in Russia is going to be a minus, negative for Xi Jinping. And also, I believe Putin is at this time this big gamble on Ukraine, and he lost, and big time. He may have lost his whole legacy, and of course his political position.
So, in your opinion, when is the tipping point going to come when Russia starts looking beyond Putin?
I would say today in March. I mean, we're talking about this coming these 4 days. You know, everybody thought the U.S. You know, I know I live in Washington. Everybody thought it's going to be over in 48 hours. All right. So suddenly, this guy, this guy, Zelensky, he's Jewish, and you have to give him credit. You know, he did what David did to Goliath, basically stood up, and those 4 days changed everything. So instead of U.S. asking to leave, he said, "I'm staying. I'm not leaving." So send me more weapons. So the whole Europe now. I watched the German Parliament meeting yesterday, and so Germany, as you remember, I mean, not too long ago, they were sending hermits as a mockery, as a mockery to the Ukrainians, and now suddenly 180% degree, 180-degree change. Money, military, everything, sanction, SWIFT, everything. Suddenly, Germany has completely 180-degree change. So this is only by the days. The momentum is going, and suddenly European welcome Ukraine to join as a European. And suddenly, they don't play by NATO anymore. They say NATO, you have to check with US, and there are so many rules. Suddenly, European Union is getting together. We are going to help Ukraine militarily. I mean, it was supposed to be an economic alliance. Suddenly, they've decided to help Ukraine and send money, send military personnel, and send weapons, including airplanes. So this is how serious it is. So this whole momentum is changing. So I'm not talking about months. I'm talking about weeks. So the Putin is in big risk of being disposed by the people. I have friends in India. The ATM not working. It's
You're
very
talking about, I think
serious.
you said you have friends in Russia, I think.
In Russia, yeah,
Yeah.
ATM not working. The whole country's national reserve, 600 billion, and people's foreign currency. Russian people understand, you know, they are weak, ruble is weak. So they always have some foreign currency kept. Everything in the bank cannot withdraw. And even the Russian ruble, when I was doing business 2 years ago, it's $1 to 70 ruble. Now it's 120. Can you imagine how how the people feel, how the Russian people. And Russia is really a semi-democracy. Semi-democracy. I mean, we know that Putin was playing game, but I would say 80% of the voting is genuine. It's genuine. It's not. There's no monkey business. So I really believe that Putin is fighting for his survival, and that's why he has to use this nuclear alert, deterrence alert. He tried to put it up and make himself a wartime president, but not good because in Russia, as we all know, they don't have a firewall. People still have freedom of speech. and communication. People in Russia knows exactly what's happening in Ukraine. So the younger generation, when I do business, I make both the older and younger generation. The elder people may support Putin because they were from the Soviet age, but younger people forget it. They all understand English. They want freedom. They want to be like the rest of Europe. They want to live the same as the rest of Europe. So their dream is to join Europe as one body. So what these 4 days, what the Zelensky did is really saved Ukraine and also changed the entire Europe. Before the European Union or the NATO, those countries always, as you know, French and the German always fighting and created the two world war. This time they are united. Never happened before, and which means if Putin collapse, the entire Russia and Europe may become one entity. One entity. So that you will really have China, and then you have America, and then the European. I don't know which way your country is going to go, but I think betting with on Russia is not a good bet at all.
Thank you so much, Elmer. And viewers, this is one of those programs where I don't want to take too much time from Elmer. He has been back to back on shows. He needs to save himself because he has another show coming up in a few minutes. So we're going to wind it up now. But one last question, Elmer. You said that Russia is democratic and that people are knowing what is happening. Now, I think Ukraine is trying to become an EU member first. And finally, EU is showing, what it can do. Because we used to always joke that EU is just an entity by name, not going to do much. So do you think that Ukraine will be accepted into EU? And would that make this thing even more difficult for Putin? This is my last question.
100%. 100%. They've already, the chairman of EU that women, with blonde hair, already
Yes.
given them official invitation to join EU, giving them money, airplane, and everything. So they don't even care about NATO anymore. They just want them in. So these 4 days have really changed Europe.
And so that's where things stand. And you're getting Elmer's view, and he gets his data from an independent source, not where I have been getting some flack for the kind of stand I've been taking, Elmer. I just want the viewers to know that we as a channel provide you different viewpoints. And what happens in the end, only you can decide whether, which way this is going to go. But at least that by watching all these programs, that there are different viewpoints, and that Russia is headed for democracy again. Thank you once again, Elmer. Safe travels, and I'll see you next week. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sri. Thank you.